Hey, glad you could make it. Welcome to Fantasy Dad Pods, where dad bods are glorified and dad jokes are encouraged. I'm JT, accompanied by Sean. Sean, how we doing?
We're doing good this weekend. While football was on all weekend, my son kept asking, "Is football's taking forever?" He likes it. Then when he's there's a very distinct like line where he's like, "I'm done," and then he's like, "2 more footballs," and I'm like, "I don't know what that means, but sure." Like, yeah, I'm like, he's like, "Oh, football," and then he watches early in the morning and then all that stuff, and then he's like, "Nah, we're done," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, we're not done." So, but it is nice to have games that I'm not like I want to watch, but like I don't have to sit down and watch. So I was literally able to clean the entire house on Sunday.
Dang.
I mean, I didn't get like the bathrooms and scrubbing that stuff, but like we have an upstairs loft and we have a downstairs living room. I was able to organize everything pretty much. We have some shopping carts that I just threw the riffraff toys in the shopping carts and the wagons and stuff like that. And I'm like, you can pull them out as you want them. But other than that, the living room and everything and all that jazz looks pretty clean now. Pretty proud of myself. I did all that. Let the wife nap. So there you go. Did the dishes on Sunday. So I just cleaned up the house. We haven't got any snow yet. Snowblower is still at the shop. Still waiting on that filter.
hmm
In
Oh, yeah.
case getting ready in case we get some snow, but no need to outside stuff. There's a couple projects maybe, but nothing that's like in dire need. I did. Here's an anecdote. So, my free weights have been like falling apart for a little bit now. So I'm like, I need some new ones, and I have like there are 3 different sets. One has like those little, the rings where you could add weights to it and everything like that, but they don't work very well, and I'm missing some of the weights, so they're not balanced. And if I don't have enough to give enough weight, and once I'm working with one weight that's like 2-ish pounds different than the other one, so I have to know which arm I'm working out more than the other. And I've been doing that for a number of years now. I was like, you know what, we got a Dick's locally, and I'm like, sporting good, and I'm like, look, I'll just slowly over the years ask for gift cards for things and then have enough to go get free weights. And I'm doing that, and we go to over there by the mall one Saturday. We're like early in the morning, we got some stuff to do. I'm like, okay, so here's the price. It's pretty expensive, but I've been saving up, got enough gift cards for it. I'm like, you know what, I'll come back and do it later. So glad I did. We go to Costco later, and they are about $400 cheaper for the same weights, and they just happen to
Holy
be there. And I'm
cow.
like, I don't care what the weights are, because as long as they're the weights and the weight they say they are, I don't care what they look like.
Sure.
So I was like, impulse bought a set of free weights, and then almost bought a couch because it's Costco. Did
Yeah.
not buy the couch, but as you know, JT, you helped me move this beast that's up here right now. Almost took up my uncle on the stairs in the apartment, but we had one couch, and we're like, okay, I want to get your thought on this. We have one couch here, and then one couch in the loft, and we want to replace both of them. And there's one really nice couch we're gonna put in the loft upstairs. It's a little smaller, but we could make bring out the kid chair, the rocking chair for when Owen basically doesn't use it anymore. Hasn't been a rocking kid for a while. He's just like goes
Yeah.
to bed. So we'll put that out maybe out in the loft area with the couch, and that'll be fine since it's smaller than that. But it's nice. But I go, but what about the other couch? Because we're gonna pay people to move these couches. So for those of you listening, this couch is from the 90s. This is straight up metal. It took 4 of us to get it up the stairs, and we probably needed a fifth. It was not it. This thing is a beast. And I told her when we got up the stairs, I'm not taking that down. And this is 6 years ago. We're all older now. I'm like, at the time, we weren't taking it down. When we're done, we're paying people to get them. And I'm like, look, if I'm paying people to get the couch in the loft downstairs, if Costco's going to come bring the couch, we need to find 2 couches and just do 2 at once. Just get
Sure.
them both done.
Yeah.
And we didn't have another couch. So I was telling one of my coworkers today, normal grocery stores have Tic Tacs and gum at the checkout, and Costco's like, buy a couch. And it works.
Right.
like we've impulse bought a tent there and almost impulse bought a couch. So maybe the grocery stores are doing it wrong. Just put your most expensive stuff at the register and buy that because it works for Costco.
Yeah. And IKEA, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
they're
gonna
just like,
make your.
hey, I know you've got your shopping cart already and you've got your thing. How about a couch or a sofa section or a barbecue? What do you want? And you're like, I will take 4 bags of fertilizer, thank you, at the end. Like it's just, and it works. People are like, yeah, I need that. And
And some Brookshire acai berry chocolates.
yeah, you're like, here's the combo. You're gonna burn a lot of calories lifting that. Some chocolates to get it done.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
But
your
there's some fruit in
coffee.
it, so it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and some
Great.
lotion. I don't know. Yeah, there's that always section of lotion right there. That I mean, it's got to be doing numbers if they put it right there. So we don't buy that lotion, but it's got to be doing numbers if it's right there between the chocolates
Oh
and the
yeah,
couches.
it's
Yeah,
always stuff that's like not going to expire, not going to go bad, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I have enough in stock. Might as well just get another one. I mean, it's
yeah.
just right here.
And that's the thing. The logic is perfect. If it basically never expires, you're like, I don't know if I have one, but what's the harm in buying another 2 pack?
Yeah, I mean, I swear in like 2022, every other Costco coupon was the deodorant on sale. So I was like,
Boom,
get a pack, get a pack.
boom.
Got like 3 packs in the same year. I haven't bought deodorant since. I'm on my last pack finally. Like, I will buy some in 2025, but like that's how long it's lasted. I was
I
like,
like how you
holy
planned out the
cow.
year you're gonna buy deodorant again. You're like,
Well,
check deodorant for the calendar.
well, have you seen that?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was started as a reel or a store. What the guy was like, go to the store, need some hoisin sauce, buy the hoisin sauce, go home, already have some hoisin sauce. Ha ha ha. Go to the store, get a bottle of hoisin sauce, go home. Now I have 3 bottles of hoisin sauce. And then he's actually showing it in real life. He has handfuls of like
Oh
5 bottles
no.
of hoisin. That's what I felt like with like, I was like, there's been things where I was just like, well, I got it because it was on sale, at Costco. It's, and my wife was like, we have 6 boxes of the gallon freezer bags. We are good on Ziploc. And I was like, oh, well, at least it won't go bad.
Well,
We'll see what
Ziplocs
goes.
literally don't go bad. If they're on sale, just buy Ziploc bags, right? Like sandwich bags, whatever they are. See, I'm on with you on that one. Never pass out a Ziploc bag. Like you could debate like food items, like protein drinks that are good for like
Mhm.
2 years or whatever they are. But Ziploc bags is not perishable. It's on
Yeah,
sale. Buy as much as you can, basically,
that's what
and
I
put
thought.
it in the closet. Who cares?
Yeah, any toiletries or yeah, garbage bags or like anything. Just like, ooh, speaking of which, I need some lawn and leaf bags coming up. I used the last one this winter, getting all the leaves out of my yard from other people's
There,
trees.
see, there you go. You can never run out. And so what we're saying is, Costco, you need to sponsor this podcast. You're building one next to our houses, pretty
Yeah.
much. Let's just make it official, like a referee whistle. Let's do it. Let's just do it.
My follow up question, and I'm sure viewers at home are wondering, what are you going to use all your Dick's gift cards for now?
See that I have no idea now. Like I've been playing this for like 2 years, and I'm like, I have like $400 in Dick's gift cards, and I'm
I,
like,
I have an
yeah,
idea. Your oldest is doing Little League, so he's going to need a bat. That'll run you 50-60 bucks for a solid one.
mm-hmm.
Gonna need a helmet, chip in another 20 to 30 there. Gonna need a bag to put it all in. Get him a backpack that will last a few years. I mean, that was just, easy.
Spitball. I
He doesn't need batting gloves. That he doesn't, like there's certain
I
things.
want to take him to batting cages first because I got to see how dedicated he is to this thing. He's the kid. If you've ever seen an old episode of Family Guy, Cleveland's uh, kid, Cleveland Jr., uh, where he does things for like 20 minutes and he's like really good at it. Like, because in the episode he golfs, he's like, "Oh, I'm good," and then he just like runs off. That's him. He's like, "I'm 2 swings, hit over the kid's head," and I'm like, "I want to be a spider in that thing over there." And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you just gonna pay attention enough to baseball? You care enough? You care enough? So, because when he wants to do good, I mean, I've told this story. Like last year, we were back there, and I'm in the middle of my backyard, and he hits the ball and it clears the fence. I'm like, "Whoa, that's a wiffle ball! Like that is a shot!" Like I'm like that, and he's lefty, and I was like, "Oh, he popped that thing." And he switched around righty and did the same thing, and I was like, "You've got it," but I just don't like when you get out. You're nervous in front of people. He's nervous in front of people. He doesn't want to like be embarrassed, which I get, but
Hmm.
I'm like, you got more talent than like 90% of these kids out here. Like, you just like showed it. And then when he does do well, he's like, I don't want to do. Like, there was one time in the Little League game where he got like 3 ground balls in a row and was like, oh, I got it. And like brought it to the coach and everything. And then he's like, I don't want to play anymore. And just like ran in the outfield. I'm just like, I would love to get all that stuff. I'm like, but are you just gonna not care and fair die at all? Like, I gotta see how this year goes. We'll be minimalist for 1 year back and hold on to gift cards. Dick's ain't going anywhere, I don't think.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
No, I agree. My yeah, my youngest in the last basketball game, I probably already told it when we had it a month or two ago, but he scored the first basket and he spent the next 10 seconds high fiving every single person in the stands. My wife, the grandparents, random people, strangers, and then he just was silly like the rest of the game. And I was just like, okay, so he checked the box. He was like, sweet, I'm gonna just score and then just
Yeah.
coast the rest of the game. It's just like, okay, whatever. It was weird.
I feel like that's with him. So we'll see how dedicated he is. What did you do this weekend? How was your weekend?
Oh yeah. So most recently, getting our WRF league situated. We got 5 new members. Just installed the most recent one over the weekend. We set a draft date, so I've been trying to get ahead of that. So it's been quite the ordeal. But that's what you get when you're the commish. Um, let's see. We started baseball clinic, weekly baseball clinic at DBAT. The oldest basketball team, their practice is starting this week. So that's pretty cool. Getting the basketball season started. I'm coaching. Looking forward to it. 3rd and 4th graders, they can steal the ball, they can block the ball. It's a 9-foot hoop with the women's basketball, so we're getting more real basketball each year. So this will be a legit year. And then speaking of the oldest, his birthday's coming up, so we ended up springing for a brand new baseball bat. All right, we got rankings this week. First up is catcher. I know that's everyone's favorite position. It's like kicker in football, but hey, they do have souls and they are people, and they are important. And for those who listened last week, you, Sean, alluded to the fact that you might have multiple catchers in your top 100.
Yes, I'll say this. I think my number's 3. How many does Fantasy Pros have? Do you know off the top of your head? I don't know.
There's 3.
Oh, okay. See, we're thinking like I used to. For those that don't know, I used to have a rule of don't draft a catcher in the top 100 because they never used to qualify in the top 100. That was a decade ago almost. That was when I wrote that article. I think it was officially like 6 years ago. But it was
Well,
pre-COVID.
it was still relevant. We have an episode called like not top 100 or something
Yeah,
like that. It was a couple
yeah,
years ago, and it was
yeah.
still relevant. So
It was still there. I remember in that episode there was a couple people who had broken that rule. I remember famously after I wrote it, it was Yadier Molina who broke it a couple times, but there was a couple more people breaking the rule. So I was like, okay, it's not that much of a rule anymore. And I think now because it's become such a power league where, like just in general, less small ball. So catchers are not playing small ball, so so much less small ball. They've kind of all reverted to what catchers games have always been. So you've kind of neutralized the playing field. So I think like once that happen and there's less like crazy stolen bases, other than the couple guys or those bunch of singles and 300 averages kind of guys, you've all just reverted their play like first baseman, third baseman are all just basically good hitting catchers from back in the day. So I think like there's no Joe Mauer coming anymore. That kind of like I want to say like neutering of baseball positions almost it's allowed catchers to be almost as valuable because I feel like there are a couple that stand out that are a tier above everybody else, and because of that I say there are 3 in the top 100. JT, do you agree there are 3 should be 3 in the top 100, or do you think there should be 0 or 1? What do you think?
I have one on my mind. I don't know about the other 2.
Yeah, so we can agree probably William Contreras is the one that's in the top 100 for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's justifiable. My stance, we just go through. Adley Rutschman, had a little bit of a sophomore slump, I would say, but near the end of the year, pretty much neutralized to what I think his normal, or kind of like a Corbin Carroll, rough, and then at the end, you look at the end, you're like, no, that's pretty close to what I think he'll do with a minus across the board. I think he's going to have more of a 23 season.
Mm-hmm.
With 20 or so more runs, 20 or so more walks, maybe a little bit more home runs. So I think with that and playing catcher and simply just playing so much, that's where him and Cal Raleigh. Cal's difference is he's the average and the walks and everything, but he's just going to hit 30 home runs. 30 home runs from a catcher who plays 150 games. Like that's Adley and Cal's value comes at play so much, and they've catcher eligibility. Like they just get so many games. It's hard to get that. You could talk me into Cal maybe not being top 100, but I still have him in the top 100 because, like, just put it this way: last year, the catcher he had 34 home runs with 100 RBIs as a catcher, and he's projected to go round 8. That's fine. Like that's a catcher who has 100. Someone who gets me 100 RBIs in round 8. I'll do it. I'll do it. And on top of that, plays catcher, a very valuable position, and I think that's more realistic. Adley Rutschman's going like 49th in average draft position. That's a little high. I think him and Cal should be next to each other, around 80th, 88, 90, somewhere in the 80 to 90s range. But technically top 100. So I feel like those two are there. William Contreras, he's going still too high for me because again, it's always the too high. ADP 32. I'm not taking him around 2 or 3. That's just not happening.
Right.
But he definitely deserves to be a tier above the other two. But the other two are very solid and get so much playing time that I'm locking that in. Now, JT, I think we're in agreement though. That's kind of the order. I mean, you could flip Adley or Cal, and it's not a huge deal for me. Do you have it Adley and Cal in that order?
I think I have Willem Contreras like on an island in his own tier.
Agreed.
The plus 800 OPS is just kind of the first prerequisite, and it's really just him. I mean,
Where do you? The ADP is 32. Do you have him around the 30s, or do you drop him a little bit, or where's it at?
no, I don't think I would want to catch her until around 5 at the earliest, maybe 6.
Yeah, I think he gets a bump because he is catcher, and I think me and you are agree with JT. We don't give them that bump. I'm okay waiting on a catcher. Right now, I get it's valuable. That bump's a little. I guess we give it a bump, but not as big of a bump as the baseball industry does. It's like tight ends or things like that. I'm not giving you some massive bump because you play tight ends. I'll take a risk on, some like the 10th catcher versus play third round for William Contreras or second round for William Contreras. I'm not rolling that. Like I'll take my I don't know. Well, let's go overall here. Round 3. I'll take Ronald Acuna Jr. at 23 versus him. Logan Gilbert 29 versus him. Like that's the round I'm going. I'm just gonna go with my commodity that I'm more comfortable with. So yeah, that's it. So then what's your order after that? What's your 2-3?
Oh man, if it's OBP league, I feel like Cal's in my top 3. But if it's an average, I hesitate. I know he's got the highest ceiling out of all of them with home runs. It can go 30. That's like a really bad offense, and that's coming from a Mariners fan. Just being real.
Just objective.
Opportunity for other categories is low. That's where I really don't mind like getting quote unquote sniped by Willem Contreras, and then just be like, oh, you got me. You had to take him in the 4th round. Well, I'm just gonna just kind of wait till a point in the draft where I'm just like, man, it's too early for anybody else. I'm not really sure what I want to do. Oh, I don't have a catcher. Boop. And just like fill it in there because there's a lot of names I'm okay with. Adley, it's just like there's so much potential, and he plays a lot, and there's a lot of counting stats, but like nothing completely jumps off the page. Is almost kind of boring in consistency. So.
I think it's what it is. His floor is so high. I think that's just his floor. Like he'll never cradle for you, but you're hoping to just get something more. But it's a floor play. Yeah.
Right. And then as far as I don't know, I kind of eyeball Wilson Contreras, the brother in St. Louis. There, he's a guy that was hitting. I had him on a couple of my teams last year. He was so good, and then he broke his hand or wrist, I believe. He's out for the minimum. Really, he came back. And I feel like Will Smith is kind of sneaky. I feel like people are down on him, but obviously in that lineup, his counting stats are just as good.
If he played as much as Cal and Adley, he'd be number 2 without a doubt.
Unfortunately, they have a guy that DH is better than him there in LA.
That's cutting into that time. It turns out I mean, there's gonna be days where he can't DH this year, though. You know what I mean? Like he literally just won't be able to DH. So,
the door opens slightly.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, that actually hurt. That's a good point. I didn't forget about that. It actually, although Pre-Otani, he played 2 more games this year, JT, than Pre-Otani. So I don't know if it really affected him that much. But yeah, I agree. And I mean, I'll say like I completely agree with the fact that I'm waiting, and I'm probably rolling in the Will Smith, um, Wilson Contreras, uh, region. Like I really think those are two like Wilson. Gosh, like you could see me like pause and have to like think about the name for a second every time. I really liked what he did at the half after when he played last year, and I think he's like underrated. He's on pace for 30 home runs again, or like Cal did. So, but you could take him so much later. Same with Will Smith. Will Smith's lineup is just a nightmare. There's gonna be people all over that base paths, like all over the place. The one that noticeably that some people I'm sure are shouting at is Salvador Perez. We've talked about this man on the podcast before. I just don't. For me, I don't. He's not my style. It's just like it's an subconscious bias against him because I'm like, oh, it's the year of 2000. I was like, blah blah blah. Then he hit 48 home runs, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is him. I'm like, that's not him. But he's been consistent. Other than that, it's my Jose Altuve. I'm like, you know what? I don't believe in it. I never believe in it. But you just keep doing it, and at some point, you're gonna be 34, 35 this year. Like Altuve, I assume it's coming, but I'm going to tip my hat to you from afar, but I'm investing in you, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I'm looking at Perez. I'm right there with you with Perez. I'm looking at stat lines the last couple of years. I'm like, this is like the last couple of years of Pujols before he was just like a complete like backup. You know, when he was actually like playing regularly right at the end there. That's the stat line. He like Perez's numbers, even just like last year, is 790 OPS, super respectful, 105 RBIs. That's a good offense. They scored a lot of runs. He had 27 home runs, 161 hits, 28 being doubles, and he didn't even break 60 in runs scored. It's just like he's gonna mash you in, and then he is a complete logjam on the base paths. And so it's just like he's a 3-4 category, guy. He's not going to steal bases. He's not going to score your runs, but he's for a catcher. He's going to flirt with 25, 30 dingers. And he's got Bobby Witt in front of him and Pescatino's healthy. And so it's just like, it's legit. It's just, it's the floor is next to the ceiling. They're high.
Yeah.
Like the floor's high, but the ceiling is not much higher than that. So it's a very small outcome in terms of like return on investment, I guess.
I'm looking at his numbers year in and year out. I've created an analogy for him. You ready for this one? You're at a craps table and you gotta roll a 7. And every time you roll the dice, you get a 3 and a 4. You get a 2 and a 5, a 1 and a 6. You're rolling 7s every time. But how he does it is different every year. He gets 48 home runs one year. Then it drops to 23. Kind of a down year. But he was hurt. Oh, he's back up there. Oh, he had a decent year. And then 24, he's like, oh, I'm back doing different. And now I have 105 RBIs. Oh, but I got 44 walks, which is like double my career average before this. Like, it's just like he's doing it in different ways. Like, oh, I'm going to hit a bunch of home runs this year. Oh, now this year I'm going to get a bunch of RBIs. Oh, this year I'm going to get a bunch of walks. And I'm like, you're getting this result where you're a valuable catcher, but I can't bank on any of it because you're not repeating any of it. But you switch up what category to do for each year to make yourself valuable every year. And I don't. What is this year? He steals a bunch of bases. I said it half joking. I'm like, is it gonna happen? Like, because I feel like that's the last one he's left. Like, or he's gonna lead the league in hits. He's gonna have like 10 infield hits and hit a bunch of doubles. You get like 180 hits, and I'm like, like I said, I probably will not have any roster him in any league, but I can't not tip my cat to the man. Like he finds a way to be valuable every year, and it changes. He keeps rolling the dice, and he keeps getting 7s. And how he gets the 7 is different every way. He gets to 7, and good for you. Like, honestly, legitimately, not even backing account. Good for you. I don't know how you do it. But I mean, I guess not at our rankings, but like we have those guys. Would you put? Let's say you have free choice. It doesn't matter. is Salvador Perez right after Cal Raleigh for you in your rankings? Position B, area of the draft B damn, or do you have Will Smith and Wilson Contreras above him?
Oh man. I think I think I have Smith and Contreras above him.
I agree.
In my mind, Cal Raleigh, I kind of group with like Langoliers and O'Hop and like
Okay.
poor offensive teams, guys who are not are going to be you'd rather have an OBP and they're going to just hit a bunch of bombs and that's about it. So I'm like I'm if I'm gonna and I like to go by tiers. I think we both do. We've talked about this a long time. If I'm gonna go by tiers, there's it's a different profile. So I feel like I'm grouping the tier and I'm putting Perez at the bottom of the Smith and the Wilson Contreras.
So you have William in his own tier, Adley in his own tier, and then you have those three guys.
No, I'd probably say Adley with like Wilson Contreras and then Smith and then Perez and then I'd probably go Cal, Langoliers, Logan Hoppy.
Interesting. That comes down to, so I have Adley and Cal in their own tier because I feel like they're very similar, and one is the floor and the ceiling. Cal's the ceiling is going to hit 30 dingers, and he doesn't have a lot of help. But when you hit 30 dingers, you're probably going to get like what 80 RBIs at the least, hopefully, unless you're Mike Trout, and hitting a bunch of solo home runs. But like, the question is though, what if Cal doesn't hit 30 home runs? Then you're correct. Then that's the cliff. If he doesn't hit the home runs, what else is he going to do for you? Adley is safe in that tier 2 for me because that is his downside. But if he does it again, he obviously didn't finish as the second best catcher last year. But it's like, I'll draft you as a second catcher because I know at worst you'll fall to the 5th catcher. That's where it comes from. Like Cal, if he doesn't hit home runs, he's going to fall to like the 12th catcher, if that. Because that's where his game is. That is the game. There's really nothing else. And like you said, the Mariners aren't going to help a lot. So I think he'll still mash his way to 80 RBIs just from playing so much and hitting so many home runs. But if I'm wrong on that, and he doesn't hit the 30 home runs, and we're talking like even like a 24 home run guy, you're looking at 60 RBIs. And 60 RBIs with a low average in those average leagues, and the depending on how many times he walks, you're right. It could get pretty low there. So, but I still have them in there. I have Wilson. I do the same thing. I guess basically the only difference is I have Cal in a tier with Adley, and then I have those two, and then I have the other tier. I have Will Smith, William Contreras, and then Salvador Perez. With the caveat, again, that is my personal rankings, but I do have a blind spot for Salvador Perez. Just so everybody's aware. I acknowledge the bias against Salvador Perez, but yeah, that's it's just the age thing. I'm an ageist, I guess, but he can't keep doing it, but he's gonna keep doing it. And he kills the Mariners in. Why haven't the Mariners traded for him as the DH? Because like hitting in Seattle is not an issue for him. Everyone's like, oh, the batter's eye and the right-handed hitters. He seems to mash every time he comes to Seattle. Like he's just clearing that left field wall every time. He's like, not a problem. And I'm like, okay, just that dude. So I guess those are the first 6 guys we have. So then let's talk about your Shea Langoliers and Logan O'Hoppe then with your Cal tier. What do you like about those two guys?
I think it's just all like similar profile, all power, not too much else, and it's going to be team dependent on the counting stats.
I mean, Shea is going to. Okay, let's put it this way. Shea is going to a stadium we don't know a lot about, simply. The rumors are, I've seen conflicting podcasts on this, it's going to be Hitters Park, but until you start really getting some data in there with Major League, because that was actually brought to me a good point. They're like, look, we have data on AAA hitters and how they adjust, but technically there's a big gap between AAA and majors. How are the majors hitters going to adjust being in that ballpark? Right. Now, it might hit better. They might, assuming they hit it further, things like that, but how does it play with the pitchers, the Major League pitchers, all that stuff? So we don't know for sure, but in theory, it could help him in that ballpark with a smaller ballpark versus Oakland, of course, less foul territory. So maybe those numbers go up a little bit. JT,
I'd be down. I mean, I'd be down for that. I'd be down for Brent Rooker. Like I could see
Mhm.
it. I mean, the Pacific League has always been notoriously like if you're a 5 ERA pitcher, you're pretty average in the Pacific
Yeah.
AAA Coast League. Um, where if you have 1,000 OPS as a hitter in AAA Pacific, you're like average.
Yeah, you're like, okay, you can make a decent all-star team, but you're nothing special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that you're saying that, that would be some good homework because I think most of the AAA level stuff should have at least some type of StatCast metrics. It'd be interesting to see what we could find, what's
I mean,
out
he hit
there. But
29 for Oakland last year. Again, in a ballpark that is a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but again, a lot of people underestimate is just simply the foul territory. There's so much foul territory that not half, but like a good chunk of foul balls that go away in other stadiums just don't go out in Oakland. That causes a lot of outs that are
mhm.
not outs at other stadiums. And he hit 29 there last year, and he's not going to have that. Like you said, it's a double whammy, I think, in favor of him because it's going to shrink the foul territory and it's a hitter's ballpark more. So
Yeah.
there's not a batter's eye. I mean, I don't know what the stadium looks like, to be honest. If there's not a batter's eye issue or something like that, or it's a crazy wind, something like that. I don't know how the stadium plays, but like barring that, and the rumors we all hear, I'm thinking 30 plus for this guy. And again, batting health, 30 plus for this guy's really within range here. And I think you're right. If you say that, that's the thing that Cal Raleigh does. I mean, he has the same issue. I mean, his athletics aren't like exactly loaded either. Um, but you're right. He might climb up here a little bit for me. Actually, now as I'm talking myself into Shea Langoliers, maybe
You're
he's going
talking
what
me
like
into it because I
80
mean, like,
ADP of 173, and I could get a 30 plus home run guy for that.
oh yeah, and I mean, if we're comparing, the three names here, I would, I mean, the upside of just the where they hit half the time, it's Seattle is the least friendly. Logan Hop, I mean, he could have Trout healthy. He could have some of these names. You don't know what the makeup and the lineup protection, but man, that's ATH. They're just that's the
Yeah.
acronym. It's not SE. It's weird not seeing the
Do you know how many times I thought it was
OHA.
Atlanta for a split second?
Yeah, yeah.
like,
So
like
it's
he's
just
in
threw me
Atlanta?
off.
Yeah.
But Langoliers, man, like I said, Rooker and then Butler coming on strong at the end there. Like
Mhm.
there's some fun pieces there, and and they spent money in the off season so far. They're gonna
Question mark? Yeah,
spend
they
any
spent money.
more? Like, although didn't the GM just leave? Maybe maybe. Hey, that wasn't the plan. Why'd you
The,
spend
the,
so
the
much
only
on
thing that might
Trout?
hold him back from hitting 30 home runs is what is going on with the team. Like, just not on a player level, like just in general. That might be the only thing that prevents him from hitting 30 home runs.
Yeah. So in terms of just like name brand versus generic brand, I'm agreeing with you. Like Linklater seems out of the three names we're talking right now, like I would lean towards
Yeah,
for just like the opportunity of potential upside. Um,
he's the more I talk about it, he's probably my target at catcher then. Because and I don't want to put target as like I have to get this guy, but I'm thinking like if I'm talking value wise and what I think this guy can do, I think there are two guys who are the most likely to hit 30 home runs here. And it's Cal Raleigh and Shea Langoliers. And if I can get a guy 100 picks later than the other guy, that's all they're really going to do. It's not like one's going to hit 100 home runs and play for the Dodgers or 30 home runs and play for the Dodgers. They're
mhm.
both on bad offenses. They're basically in the same position. Two good hitters, maybe. I mean, around them, depending. With Cal and with Shea Langoliers.
Oh yeah, and then I'm
So
looking at it right now with an ADP of like 140 ish.
yeah, like 100 to 80 picks difference. I'm just gonna roll Shea Langoliers. I mean, if I could get Cal drops, that's fine. But if I could just wait on Shea Langoliers and get him, that's where I'm going. I'm not as big as Logan on Hoppy. I think he's a better real baseball player than fantasy baseball player.
I could
People
agree with
talk him
that.
up like he's like, oh, this great guy. And I'm like, I'm looking at his numbers, and I'm like, on the field, I completely agree. But like fantasy wise, I'm like, I don't see it, and that is why right there I kind of lop off Logan Hoppy, and I'm like, these first seven guys. If you told me I got these first seven guys, thumbs up. After that, it's notorious kind of in our league of the face when I drafted CC Sabathia a number of years ago. and our buddy Rob makes fun of me where I drafted him and immediately like was disgusted with myself and hated it as soon as I made the pick. That's how I feel if I draft. I'm like, oh god, like what did I do? Like, and that's like more of like where I would have to draft these guys. If I'm getting Logan Hoppy, he's going ADP 146. If I get him in like round 20, fine. I'm not making that face, but like if I'm drafting him anywhere near where they're projected to go, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm not happy with those picks. There's a couple guys, and I'll ask you this, JT, what you think about the tiers that I have there. But I would, if I get past the 7, this is my plan. I want a reclamation project or someone with sort of a floor. I'm talking, I'll roll the dice on Sean Murphy bouncing back. Like, am I like, I'm looking at like a Sean Murphy or an Austin Wells or Tyler Stevenson. I'm just like, yeah, you could talk me into Tyler Stevenson, Cincinnati, but like with everything breaking right for that guy, he hit 19 home runs in a great ballpark. I'm like, that's your upside, and you're kind of in a full season for you. I'm like, that's who you are. You're less than a sub 20 home run guy with 60 RBIs. I like that. That doesn't move the needle. Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy struggled to half of that last year, and he plays for Atlanta. If he's even half right in 70 games, he's gonna do just as well. So I'm like, I'm gonna roll with that. Maybe Francisco Alvarez can get back to 25 dingers or something like that. But I'm gonna roll back on a bounce back guy versus Yonder Diaz. So I just I'm talking OBP leagues. I don't usually I don't reference average leagues, but average leagues that changes things up. But OBP league, yeah, I'm not looking at Diaz for Houston. I'm not buying it. Again, 15 home runs, power. I think that's where he maxes out. Nothing crazy. So
He's
I don't know what you think, but like after the first 7, I'm kind of like I'm just gonna roll with what I want after this. And whatever happens, happens. Whatever catcher falls to me, and I'm like, I don't have another option. I'm gonna do what I want to do. What do you think about my take on Logan Hoppy? And then what do you think about the tiers and after this? Or do you have some guys that you really like after this?
No, I agree with you on Logan, and I agree with you on the tiers. Yeah, if I'm looking ahead, anybody else that like kind of stands out, I mean, I feel like Sean Murphy should be due for a bounce back. It's just a weird kind of injury year, and just seemed like kind of rushed back in general. But that'd be the only name I kind of see that's lower. That's like, well, might be worth
Yeah.
taking a flyer, and it's a cheap flyer. And then Moreno in Arizona.
Yeah.
Just in a good situation. He's a young catcher, 24. So I mean, I feel like there may be some room for growth
Just gotta get
with it.
any pop, man. There's just
Yeah,
no pop there. But yeah, I agree. Like if
and
you
then
can just put a bat on a ball, like that lineup, like yeah, absolutely.
Austin Wells again. I mean, he was a rookie, right? Last year he's
Mm-hmm.
going to be 25. That's a great lineup to be the primary catcher in. I saw who was who was the one that just got traded to Cincinnati. It was
Gavin Lux?
no, their catcher, the
Oh, the
Yankee
catcher.
catcher. They traded to Cincinnati, and it.
What's his
Oh,
name?
actually, um, he the day he got traded was the same day King of JUCO Eric Sims posted a YouTube of them doing a catching challenge together. And
Oh
he's all in
no.
his Yankees gear, and he got traded the same day the video posted on YouTube.
Jose
And I was
Trevino?
yes, Trevino, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I thought the irony of that, although I don't know if it was a complete irony. I'm like, they're like, we don't do YouTube for free. Like, see you later, Trevino.
We're the
That's
Yankees.
yeah.
If any franchise would get mad, it would be them. So you're probably right. You're probably
Ye-
right.
Yainer Diaz intrigues me, but I don't. I think it's like a really high floor. That I mean, like he's just like this. How would I? I don't even know who to equate it to. It's like it's kind of that Perez before he's got dad strength. It's
Yeah.
like the lightest version ever of Ladito. It's like line drives and just hitting it through the gaps of the infield in a high batting average, and it's just he'll get some counting stats because he's on the Astros.
Yeah.
And that short porch in left field is where he's going to get literally all of his power last
Yeah.
year. I feel like that's kind of like the cutoff. It's kind of like a safe floor, but
I just don't know what to make of him. Like 2 years ago, he plays 100 and something games. He hits 23 home runs, and you're like,
mhm,
oh, 280. Like, he plays a full season. It's going to go great. He hits less home runs in 50
like
more
in a
games,
full season, yeah.
and then gets the RBIs, though, and then, but doesn't still walk. It walks 20 times in a full season. You're like, you didn't walk a lot. You got a lot of RBIs, but you hit like 5 less home runs, 6 less home runs. Like, what? Like, how does that? So I'm
Yeah.
like, are you the guy who hit 20 home runs? Are you the guy who's maybe going to hit 15? I don't know who you are. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's my issue with him is like, you're 26. I just don't. I have nothing. It does nothing for me. Like I said, like I'm just gonna. If that's the case and you hit 15 home runs, I'm just gonna roll with like a like even the other guys. Like I'll roll the dice on like a Francisco Alvarez because like if I'm playing it safe at catcher is again like 15 home runs and 60 RBIs. That doesn't move my needle. Like I'll play safe at like outfield where you're gonna hit 250 for me with like 25 home runs or something like that. It's safe out there. Safe at catchers again like 50 RBIs. And I'm like, I want to take an upside swing at a catcher position because at the end of the day, you're hitting less. You're gonna hurt me less if I miss. Like I want to swing with like a Francisco Alvarez or a Sean Murphy bounce back versus Yander Diaz, who again you're like, oh man, I got my nice floor of 15 home runs. You hit good average, but you walked only 20 times and 65 RBIs. I'm like, okay, like that's not going to win me any weeks, and that just across the board, that's probably going to hurt me in general. You know what I mean? Like you didn't give me any counting stats. You didn't give me anything that helped. So I'll roll maybe like I get a Francisco Alvarez year from a couple of years ago where he's hitting 25 dingers, walking 34 times, and now he's got a guy that they paid a lot of money for him. Have you seen his picture on Fantasy Pros?
Who's?
Look at Francisco Alvarez's post. It's like he's confused that they're taking a picture of him.
So it's like one eye squints.
Yeah, he's like,
and
you're
then
taking
the
a
other
picture
eye is
now?
looking
Snap.
across to the other
Like,
one.
yeah, they're like now? Snap. It's just, and they went with that picture? Come on, man. Let him check it out, the picture, before you just post it. Like, come
I
on.
didn't realize. Is that a red ink net tattoo on his
It is.
Adam's apple?
It looks like it says the best.
It does. It says the best, and then
That's what it looks like.
below it looks like the beginning of a little crown.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he falls a little bit for the tattoo. Not because I'm against tattoos, but what are we doing? A little red tattoo?
The lighting is poor. It's obviously there's a much stronger light to his right, our left.
Yeah, maybe that was just a weird day
flickering.
for everybody involved. The lighting team, the picture team, him, just like it was a weird day.
His
But
head is tilted like he's shielding just the tip of his cap.
it looks like he's super confused on what's happening. To the side, he's like, "What did you say?" Snap. Like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, like, I mean, we talked about it here. Like, he basically Yonder Diaz. I get he's younger, and the Diaz is baking in. Well, I guess where my issue comes from, they're baking in projected improvement, and he didn't improve. And I think the average-wise and everything, that's best case scenario. So that's going to come down. I don't think the RBIs are going to be there, and he only walks at best case like 20 times, 24 times. I'm like, that's just even a bad JT Realmuto. Like 20 home runs, 60 to 70 RBIs, and JT Realmuto is walking 40 times with that, and that's going to help my on base percentage. So like, I'm like, why don't you just roll the dice with JT Realmuto at that point? So, and at least I kind of have like a baseline of JT Realmuto. Now it's probably getting less, now, but it's still like, at least I kind of know what I'm getting there and I could draft him later. I don't have to go after Diaz where he's going, So, I mean, their ADP is 64. That's just absolutely absurd. But like, I'm just like, why do I have to do that? Basically, like, I'm just like, you're just drafting paying a premium for a JT Realmuto who's not 30 something, 33. And I'm just like, I'm not. Again, if he's down there, in the 150s or something like that, sure, let's do that. But I'm not drafting anywhere. I'm gonna have no Diaz stakes. Let's put it this way this year in fantasy. Like, it's just not gonna happen. So same with probably Tyler Stevenson. There's no upside. And if I'm past the 7, I want to swing at someone with some upside, someone that could not win me a week, but like do more than like a bleh, kind of thing. Let me swing. Like a Francisco Alvarez, like you said, Austin Wells, a Sean Murphy. I want to swing with those guys. A Gabriel Marino, that was a really good one. Like I think if he can figure it out, like that's fine. And I think even in a down year, if he plays a full season, he's coming into his own. He'll just put up a year like Diaz or JT Realmuto did. Like that. That's just I think where his floor is too. So I think he'll end up getting there by the end of this year. So why would I just roll with them, mate? Because I feel like Marino's upside is more than their upside. So I would just roll with that. That's just where I'm looking at with the guys at the bottom. Is there like you probably already hit it, JT, but is there a guy that like you're maybe interested in that's below like the 12, like the guys? Like we talk about Sean Murphy and Austin Wells who are technically below that, but like I know you've been a Ruiz guy from Washington, Keybert, in the past. Has that ship sailed?
I think so. He'll give you like a couple, maybe 3-4 weeks of just like, wow, this is what we were hoping for,
Yeah.
and it just kind of every year it's just like you gotta. And again, that's a lot of baseball players, a lot of hitters. But yeah, I feel like I I know what he is, and he plays. He has he's a very good batter's eye for and definitely for a catcher, and he's good as a that fringe 12 team backup in case someone gets injured, and he's obviously worthy of a 15 team league. And the more we talk about this, the two catcher 15 team league is just going to be literally a crapshoot, to reference your reference
Yeah.
earlier. Like
Yeah.
there are so many names that you're like, oh man, what if? Is this going to be the year where they tweaked it for the better in the off season, or are they going to be fully healthy for the year? Like, there's so many question marks, more so than ever. Like, there's guys that are post hype sleepers. Are they going to finally get? Are they going to take over catcher one duties on their team? I it, it's a bit much, and the more I look at it, the more I'm just like, the catcher that catches 2/3 of the games and then the other third DHs, it is why they're at the top, isn't it? It's Willem Contreras, it's Adley, it's Cal, it's Sal.
You just got to
I
get playing
mean,
time.
and
That's it.
those guys had 150 games plus. I mean, a lot of DHing, comes with that. It's just like that. That is something worth putting value on. And then the more I look at it, like in trying to think of tiers, like there's these smaller tiers you can kind of group twos and threes. But overall, I see a theme of maybe it's just going to come down to how your draft plays out. But the catcher that hits low average, lots of home runs, or the catcher that is just 250 average and might get you 15 to 20 and it's just nothing special, but it's like okay, and he gets a decent amount of playing time. Like, what do you want? Do you want the safe floor, or do you want like a little bit higher potential for the ceiling? And if I don't know, is it that it's going to be a tough call, and it might just come down to each and every individual draft.
It
But
depends on what the rest of your roster looks like. If you have enough ceiling guys, then maybe a floor catcher is for you. You know what I mean? But yeah, it gets past that top 7. I'm like, I want to take a dice and roll the dice on someone who could potentially hit me 20 home runs and get me like 80 RBIs. Now, I don't need them to do it, but I want to roll the dice on someone who could versus someone I know won't. Is basically how I view it, because I want to take a shot at catcher. Because again, if they play 130 games and don't get me there, it's going to hurt me less than if I draft a Randy Rosarina and he doesn't get me there. That's going to hurt more than if my catcher doesn't, just from sheer playing time. So I'm willing to take more risk at catcher, because if I miss, it's going to hurt me less. So that's just my thought there with those. Like how far we came with Jonah Heim in just 1 year. Remember all the hype, Jonah Heim? I was not buying it. I'm sorry, Jonah Heim. I don't mean to call you out, but I was just like, man, I don't know. Texas, all your Texas guys were everywhere. And I was like, I don't buy it. And look at that. Look at that, Texas. Connor Wong. I still have no idea what to make of you. And that's a legitimate, I have no idea, JT. I just have no idea.
It's seriously, the more I look at it, the more you can just bin it. Connor Wong is the Yanier Diaz light. Boom.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you like build these profiles and then you just do light at the end of it, which
Yeah.
that's really tough to say in terms of catcher. Like you're
It's
already
true.
packing light.
It just doesn't. I feel like looking at a couple of numbers, you're like, this should be better, and I'm just like, but it's not. But it's not like, for a catcher, you're like, but he's like developing, so you're like, I could see it. But like, I also am like, if I have Connor Wong, I'm like, what happened in the draft? You know what I mean? Like, he's my starting catcher. I'm like, what did we do here? How did we not get something else? But like, he hits 280, walks 30 times, but I'm like, you hit 13 home runs with 50 RBIs. How did you only do that? How you hit so well and you walk so much, you have a good, but you didn't do anything with it. Like you said, it's Salvador Perez without the pop. like he's getting on the base, but then it's like you didn't hit the home runs that Salvador Perez makes him valuable. You had the double occasionally, but you didn't go anywhere. So
I just saw a name, and I didn't realize he would be catcher eligible. David Fry.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were on the Fry bandwagon last year. Yeah, he got enough ABs.
Where's he at now? Is he still?
He's still in Cleveland.
Okay, so is he
At least
not
last I heard.
projected to be on the?
Oh, I don't know. Let me see here.
6 man. Let me go back. Make sure I'm right. Yeah, Cleveland. Looking at Guardians. So he's obviously. Oh, he's injured. Excuse me. I had elbow surgery.
Oh, so he's like, when does it say he's coming back?
So must have missed that.
Does it have a time where he's coming back? Elbow surgery 10th. He just had it.
Yeah, right at the end of the season. So that's why we probably missed it.
What is elbow?
UCL.
Ooh.
Repair the UCL on his right elbow.
Oh no.
That's tricky. Because I was like, man, doesn't he? Yeah, he plays like outfield and he played a little all over. And I'm like, depending on how many games he got at catcher, I'm like, he got 23 games at catcher. Like, darn, if he hadn't been, dealing with this,
Yeah,
he would have been a sneaky second catcher in those deep, two catcher leagues.
that would have been nice. That would have been really nice. I really liked what he did because he had 42 walks in 120 games with 14 home runs. Like, there's something to build on there in his first real playing time. Hopefully improvements come. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I just don't know if it's gonna be there for. He's not gonna be ready near opening day. Yeah, David Fry, the Fry man.
Could have been sneaky.
I like
trying to be sneaky.
Like a late round, like if you have two catcher league, Ryan Jeffers, 20. You get a second catcher, 20 plus pop power. Just like every Minnesota Twin we talk about every year. Just when's he gonna get hurt? But 20 home run catcher from your second catcher in a two catcher league. That's all I'm looking for. That's it. I need you to do one thing, and he can give me 20 home runs. I think that's.
The only other thing we didn't really talk about is potential like prospects. Are we gonna see Davis from Pittsburgh? You think
Henry Davis?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did play last year.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
But it wasn't good. So.
Am I blanking on? No, I was thinking Davis.
Yeah. And Pittsburgh has like 3 hitting catchers. They have all the post-type sleepers. They have Joey Bart too, I believe. Do they still have Joey Bart? They do still have Joey Bart. Who is their opening day catcher? Hold on, let me see here. Who are they rolling with now? It's Joey Bart. They're gonna have Joey Bart as their. Interesting. Okay.
So. Oh, what about your boy Salas? That's right.
Is he? Really. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think this is the year. I still don't think this is the year. So I would have liked to talk about him, but I think it's a little too high, and I don't think Mariners fans, Harry Ford, I don't think it's his year either. I mean, I think he'll get called up maybe at some point if he's not traded, but it's going to be a late thing if the season goes well. If the season goes super well, like great hitting all year, blah blah blah, all that stuff, then he might get a month. I think that's the best case scenario. So. The 2 prospects I'm watching for catchers wise, I don't think either of them are going to make an impact this season, unfortunately. So next year, this will be a much more interesting conversation, I think, JT, depending on how the pros hit. But I think, actually, I'm pretty psyched that there's some young guys now in the catcher, I feel like, world. There's the young bucks are coming up. But yeah, we're a year off from the 2, I feel like.
It's always like the next big catcher is already blocked by like a really good catch, like Basalo in Baltimore, or like you said, Ford in Seattle. It's like what?
Yeah, the teams that already have him, it's an embarrassment of riches. It's yeah.
But why catcher? Why is the embarrassment
Yeah,
of riches? Is it a rich embarrassment or is it an embarrassment of riches?
I don't know. I think a lot of it. I mean, especially with catcher, it's got to be development. So I mean, it's clearly it's probably a developmental organization thing. Like they're obviously spending
Yeah.
resources with these players like Cal and Harry Ford, but they're also not. There's a lot of room to mess up catchers. As the Mets just did in the past before this regime got here. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a combination. All these teams across the board are putting resources, drafting, and into it, but certain organizations tend to be really good at developing the catchers because there's so much goes into development of this specific position that the teams who constantly have a good guy are because they're doing a lot of the good work. The teams who don't have one and don't have one of the minors is because they don't even develop the first guy. So how are they going to develop the second guy? So I think that's what it comes down to. Unless you get like some crazy superstar that you just can't mess up. I think that's the only way that some of these guys will get a good catcher. So catching's hard. Catching's these are the studs. You know, they got good power sources, as we like to say on this podcast too.
Oh yeah, the dad strength is all in the rear.
It's all in the rear, and then they got nice arms from all curling all the children, lifting them up, holding them up. You gotta have it. Who needs weight strength? You got two toddlers. Boom.
They're all about pop time.
Yeah,
You
pop,
know,
boom.
pop,
You got to
and
get down low, play with the Hot Wheels, pop up. What's going on? The other one's crying. Boom. Get down. What's going on? There you go. See? What's happening with your brother? Okay, we're good. Back to Hot Wheels. Boom. There you go. That brings me up because in the loft upstairs we were talking about earlier, all the Hot Wheels are upstairs. So all the tracks are upstairs now. So broke one, or one is broken, so I got to try to fix it before they notice. So, but I don't know who did it. Probably the youngest one. Sorry, Owen called you out. There you go. But yeah,
cool.
I think that's it for catcher right now. I think next week we want to go first base.
I'm thinking so. Again, we always talk about like we'll see what happens with the off season, any free agents that get signed. But I mean, we kind of know what the profile is. I mean, Pete Alonso, I'm not really sure, but we know what he's gonna do. It's really not gonna change much. Stuff like that. So yeah, let's just keep it. Let's keep it. Let's go around the horn. We'll go to first base next, and go from there. So we'll just keep amping up towards the opening or catchers and pitchers, and then opening day after that. But we'll keep bringing you the weekly rankings. So this was catcher. Tweet us at Fantasy Dad Pods. Let us know if you have any questions or if you're in a draft right now. If you're seeing those tiers and how they broke for you, that'd be interesting to hear back from. A lot of best balls, a lot of drafting holds right now. But yeah, up next week we'll tackle first baseman. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you listening. Take care. Be well. And until next time, see ya.
See ya.